Okay guys, welcome. We're here with the GOAT, the one and only Phil Handy. Thank you so much for sitting here with us today.
I appreciate it. I don't know about the GOAT stuff, but it's a pleasure to be here with you.
You're definitely the GOAT. Okay, so we're here in LA. So at what age did you fall in love with the game?
I don't think I really fell in love with basketball probably at around age 11, 12, somewhere in there. And then when I turned 13, I remember, that was the first time that I kind of played like organized.
Okay.
For like CYO.
Yeah.
Played in the church league, and I was a late bloomer with basketball. I loved it, but I was a really late bloomer in terms of my skill.
Yeah. So when did you know that, like, okay, I could take this to the next level. I could be good.
I don't think I knew until I took it to the next level.
Really?
But I was one of those guys. I probably played 5 games of high school basketball.
Oh wow.
I didn't play very much high school basketball. I grew up in a very religious family, and so for me, like from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown, I couldn't do any activities. So that eliminated high school basketball for me in a lot of ways. So I played 5 or 6 games my whole high school career.
Wow, that's crazy.
And I didn't really become a good player until after high school, until I got into college. That's when I really started taking it serious. And I started getting recognized, by college coaches when I went to junior college. And it kind of took off from there. And once I got a scholarship, then that's when I was like, okay, maybe basketball can,
open your eyes,
part of my life for the rest of my life. And it kind of just opened up my mind to that possibility.
So you did 2 years, you went to the University of Hawaii. So what was the island life like for you?
I loved it.
You loved it?
It was a great culture experience, because you go to Hawaii, the Polynesians, the Samoans, the Japanese, the Koreans, the Asian community is really big. And so for me, it was different. But I love the sunshine, I love the weather.
Yeah, you can't be mad there.
I wore shorts to class almost every day. So the experience there was a really good experience for me.
Yeah, it's hard to have bad days there.
Right.
And then, so then talk about after college, you go and you get a shot with you grew up as a Warriors fan, right? So you get a shot with the Warriors. What was that experience like for you? I love those stories of especially seeing kids from the draft get to play for their dream teams. What was that experience for you getting put on that jersey?
Man, that was probably one of the best experiences of my career.
Wow.
Even though I didn't stay very long, just to be recognized and have the opportunity to put a uniform on, and my family get to see me play in the Coliseum where I grew up just watching the Warriors. That was probably one of the most amazing moments of my life. The first time we ran out of that tunnel, and I had that jersey and that uniform on. I remember I had 50 people in the stands.
I would too. That's crazy.
I bought so many tickets. That was my first NBA game. So it was awesome. It was like a dream come true.
Yeah, no.
And I remember just when I came out of the tunnel, I remember hearing all of my family just cheering. This is like warm-ups, a game just started, but it was important. So much emotion.
Yeah,
that was a great experience for me.
Yeah, that had to be cool. So then you did spend time in the NBA, and then you went to Portland. So from there you go play overseas. What was that experience like? What did you learn? What was your biggest takeaway from going to play overseas? Being away from home and just growing as a person. You spent time out there. What was that like?
You hit it right on the head. Just learning about other cultures, right? Learning about how other people live. I was really shocked because one, I didn't want to go to Europe.
Yeah.
I was bitter. I had this entitlement attitude that I belonged in the NBA, and my first year in Europe was in France. And it was not a great year for me. It was probably the worst year that I had in Europe because I wasn't prepared mentally or emotionally. I was so bent out of shape about not, being able to be a permanent figure in the NBA So I was angry.
Yeah.
And when I took, the crazy thing about it was the first job that I took in France was the equivalent, if not more money than what I was making in the NBA as a rookie. So the money was better, but I just wasn't prepared for just the lifestyle change. I wasn't prepared for the language barrier. I wasn't prepared for the food and all these little things that we take for granted here. Just the way they live. I was not prepared for it.
Yeah.
Nor did I want to prepare for it.
Yeah.
And so my first experience in France was, man, it was a wake-up call. And it really, again, it was another milestone for me because I got injured and then I got released from my team. So I had to go back home. And really, at that point, I was like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
I didn't really know what was next. So I had to really examine myself to say, look, if you want to make a career of this, Europe is a great place for you because they treat you well. And it's just all about basketball.
So mentally, you just had to prepare.
Mentally, I had to refocus. And once I went to Europe, I never came back. After that first year in France, I went on to play in Italy and Spain, and Germany, and Israel, England, and then I retired down in Australia. But those years were probably the best years for me because they taught me so much about people. It helped me become so much just more well-rounded as a person.
Yeah.
Learning about different cultures, learning about different food. I wouldn't do that part over again because it really helped me become a better person.
I want to talk about like something I wanted to ask you, and I feel like a lot of people don't discuss it, but the transition of like knowing that your career comes to an end as far as like playing basketball. And I think a lot of people, when that comes to an end, like no one really discusses life after basketball, like the decisions that you have to make and then just the real world. And I see it all the time, and I think a lot of people just get depressed because they don't know what to do or where to go from there. And even if like they want to continue to be involved in the sport, but what advice or what helped you, where did you find yourself, or what advice would you give someone in that situation?
You know what's crazy? When I left Australia in 2003, I was initially just going to take a year off. I needed a break, just like mentally, and a little bit physically too. And my parents were getting older, so when I went to Europe, I was gone. Pretty much 10 months out of the year. So I might spend maybe 45 days at home, and then I was back across the water. So for a good 9 years, I was missing out on my family. And I just, I was at a point where it was like, okay, I want to take a year off and then kind of see where it goes from there. Yeah. And I took the year off with the intention of going back to play for my old team. They had a contract for me. And after that year, me personally, I was just like, I don't want to play anymore. Really? I was at a place where mentally I checked out. Like I knew I was not prepared to get myself in a place mentally to compete the way I have to. Taking care of my body, watching what I eat, working out. I knew I was not in that place. And so I wasn't gonna go and do a half-ass job. I wasn't gonna go take the contract and not be the best version of myself, so I retired. And I think it was a little bit of a easy process for me. Did I miss the game? Absolutely. Yeah. But when I retired, I knew that I wanted to start a training business. Okay. And it was easy. Really? It wasn't always an easy transition, but it was easy for me to walk away from playing and do that and start the training. But I didn't go right into the training business. I actually took maybe about a year and a half, and I was doing real estate. So a good family friend of mine had a real estate license, and he was really big in real estate, and he convinced me to go into business with him, and we started like a real estate investment company, and we were buying up as many properties as we could in Northern California. Oh wow! And I did that for about a year and a half. I enjoyed it. I didn't love it. Yeah. It was good. It taught me a lot about real estate. I learned a ton about just that whole industry. But
your heart wasn't there.
After a year and a half, I was just like, no, this is not for me.
Yeah.
Basketball, I miss it. I miss the game. And I walked away from the business. I asked my partners to buy me out, and I started my training business cold turkey.
Best decision you made?
Best decision. Looking back on it now, jeez, I'm actually thinking about the day that I made the decision to stop the business, and man, that was the best decision I probably could have made for my career.
Yeah, just
without knowing.
Yeah, believing in yourself, taking the chance.
Absolutely.
That's crazy. And then, so that process of training, I mean, it's so easy to look at you right now and like where you are in your career, and I mean, I think social media plays a huge part in, like, we get to see you post pictures of you working out with like the greats, but I think people can, right now today, I think it's so easy for people to look at success as like a quick thing, and then just like you snap your fingers and then you're just this big successful person. But what was the process of like the things that those years that people didn't see, like there's no pictures or whatever, like the years that weren't so glamorous, and you had to really, like, you didn't just get here, you worked hard to get here. So what were those years like for you?
A lot of, I don't want to call them dog years, because I enjoyed that part of the journey.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of work. My grind was crazy. Mm-hmm. Like, when I started my training business, my first client charged him $25. Mm-hmm. At the time, I was living in Stockton. This kid lived in Marin, so if anybody knows the Bay Area, Stockton and Marin are about an hour and a half away from each other.
Oh, wow.
I charged this kid $25. It cost me more money to put gas in my car than it did to go train him. And I was training him twice a week. Mm-hmm. And I did that for like a month. And this kid told a friend. And next thing you know, there's 3 kids at the training sessions. And then those kids told a friend and told parents. And before I knew it, that whole thing kind of morphed into 60 kids.
Wow.
So back then, there was no social media. Mm-hmm. I never spent a dime on marketing, advertising. I never had a website. My business was built 100% on word of mouth referrals.
The work spoke for itself.
And I did that for 13 years.
Wow.
And in that 13 years, like, people really do not understand the grind that I was on. I would have 14-hour days. Mm-hmm. I would drive 500 miles in a day. I would be from San Jose to Marin to Sacramento to Stockton. And again, people that know Northern California, that's like a 500-mile radius in one day. I spent tons of hours in my car going from gym to gym, training kids. And really, that grind was I just love being in the gym.
Yeah.
So for me, it didn't really matter. NBA players were a small part of my business. Mm-hmm. I trained a lot of NBA guys before I became a coach in the NBA, but that was such a small part of my business. It wasn't even really the main part. It was, by the time it was all said and done, I had over 150 kids in my program.
Wow.
And I trained St. Mary's, Cal Berkeley, Stanford, UC Davis, pretty much San Jose State, all of the freaking major universities. I was training their programs. So that grind over 13 years, it was just all things basketball. I was anywhere and everywhere training people all over Northern California. It was a crazy grind.
It paid off.
It did. It really did.
So then 2011, you get the call to go work for the Lakers. What was that process like of interviewing, or just the process of getting the call and getting the job? What was that like?
That was, so Randy Bennett, he's the head coach of St. Mary's College, a really good friend of mine and mentor, and he was a big advocate for me. I used to train his program work with him and his kids for a long time. Him and Mike Brown were college roommates.
Okay.
And so when Mike Brown got hired by the Lakers, Randy was really good at helping guys like myself. Lloyd Pierce. Lloyd Pierce Randy Bennett helped Lloyd go to Cleveland the first time and work with Mike Brown, and now Lloyd Pierce is the head coach of the Atlanta Hawks. Randy was really good at just helping guys through his connections, and he was really adamant about me taking the job with the Lakers. He really liked the work that I was doing with his program, and I didn't want to take the job initially because I was really enjoying my business. Like,
oh yeah,
I worked when I wanted to work. My business was going really well. I mean, I was making very good money.
Yeah.
And I was just doing a lot of stuff with kids. I had an AU program. I was helping kids get scholarships to go play, Division I, Division II basketball. So
it was hard to step away from that.
It was.
Yeah.
It was really hard for me to step away and leave those kids. And I remember, like, I was at home, and I kept saying to myself, like, when I first started in the training industry, all I said was, I want to be the best trainer in the game. And so when the opportunity came for me to work with the Lakers, initially I was like, I don't know, Randy. And then I started reflecting on, like, why did you want to get in this industry? You wanted to, ultimately you wanted to be able to work with some of the best players to ever play. And so my decision to take the job with the Lakers was based on the opportunity to work with Kobe.
Yeah.
That was it. And that whole process, I remember the first time Mike Brown called me, it was like 10 o'clock at night. And I didn't know Mike Brown at all. And he called me at like 10 o'clock at night. And it kind of did like a real informal phone interview. He said, Randy Bennett speaks highly of you. He loves your work ethic. I talked to a few people. Everybody has great things to say about how hard you work and how good you are at training and blah, blah, blah. So we talked for 20 minutes. And then he said, hey, Phil, I want you to put together a training program for me.
Okay.
Put together a program and email it to me. And so I was like, bad coach. Wow. So I stayed up that whole night. Come on, listen. I stayed up that whole night. I sent him, I was like, man, should I send it tonight? Should I send it? I waited till the next day because I was like, man, I want to send an email at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I sent the email, right? I didn't hear from Mike Brown for like a month.
See, that would have just ate me alive.
And so at this point, I was like, man, okay,
You're not going to say anything?
I'm like, dang, did he? So after about a month, I was like, okay. And I was, Randy, did he get my email? Did he talk to Mike? And so I finally just texted him one day. I was like, Coach, I just wanted to follow up. I sent you the program.
I don't know if you got it.
I don't even think he looked at it. Oh. Later on, he told me, he said, Phil, I just wanted to see if you were going to do it.
Oh, wow.
I just wanted to see if you were going to put the program together and send it to me.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, that's messed up.
You could have said something.
But that whole process, it didn't happen right away. It was because the NBA was in a lockout that summer.
Yeah.
So there was no nothing NBA wise. And I remember just every now and again I would text Mike, just check in.
Yeah, keep in touch. I
didn't bother him. I would just keep on the radar. And he was always cordial. He Phil, all is good. Just, hope you're doing well. I'll be in touch.
Okay.
He was very
short,
short. And I was like, man, I don't know if this dude likes me or not.
I can't tell.
The lockout ended. The day the lockout ended, I remember I was driving. My wife, we were driving in the car at the time, and phone rang. And I was like, oh, it's Mike Brown. And so I was just like, the lockout just ended. Well, okay.
Yeah.
I figured funny as I feel, Mike Brown, hey, I'm going to offer you a job. I need you to be in LA tomorrow.
Okay.
That was it. We're going to pay you X amount of dollars. I'm going to give you a 3-year contract. I need you to be here tomorrow.
When you hung up?
I just hung up the phone. I just remember I looked over my wife and I just started dying. Like, yo. And it happened that fast.
Yeah.
And next day I was in LA.
So night before, like a new job, I feel like anyone is just like really anxious or whatever. Maybe you can't sleep or whatever the case is. But just knowing like I'm about to go train with Kobe Bryant, like on the Lakers. What does that like? What do you feel in that process? Like what was your mindset the night before? Nervous.
I was really nervous just because I didn't know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, this was my first opportunity to be a coach on the NBA staff, and I was I was nervous.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where, and not so much nervous about Kobe. I was just nervous
all around. Yeah, first time.
Like, man, I want to get started.
Yeah.
And just I want to make an impact. And man, this is I had all these different emotions. And I remember the first day of practice, or actually I remember the first day I met Kobe. The lockout ended, players started coming back. There was still a few days before training camp was going to start, and we were all in the office. And I just remember Kobe just walked in, just random, and just kind of like barged in.
Yeah.
And he was like, "What's up with you mofos?" This is how he was talking to all the coaches.
Yeah.
And he walked by me and just, "What's up?" He just kind of gave me a head nod and walked right by me.
Like, okay.
And I was like, dang. No introduce.
Yeah.
He was like, "What's up, man?" And he went and hollered at somebody, dapped him up. He came back. He walked right out of the room and didn't say nothing. So I was like,
okay.
And that was my very first interaction with him. And it was a natural thing.
Yeah.
We started training camp, and I just remember feeling like I was in elementary school and I had to relearn everything.
Really?
Coaching, terminology, and Mike Brown is a very organized coach. And I'm talking about organized. He is organized to a T. And he was just very thorough, very detailed, and I felt like my head was going to explode the first day of practice.
Wow.
Because it was so much information. I mean, it was so much information. And I was looking around at other people like, am I the only one that's like
confused?
And everybody else, this was my first.
Yeah.
I just remember that first day, I was like, man, I have so much to learn. And, it just really kind of opened up my eyes to, there's all these different pieces to coaching. Development is one piece, offense is one piece, defense is, there's all these different pieces. And it just, looking back on that first day, I was just like, man, I don't think I'm going to make it. Honestly.
Well, I want to ask, what surprised you the most about working with Kobe? Like your previous watching as a fan and then actually working with him, what surprised you the most?
Man, his attention to detail was really surprising. Like, he was really focused on mastering his craft, like 100%. And so I remember the first time I actually got on the court with him to do a workout, it was so different than what I envisioned.
Really?
He always knew what he wanted in terms of his work. Even if he wanted somebody to help him, he knew what he wanted to get help on. And so to get on the court with him and go through workouts, sometimes he would stay in one spot for 45 minutes.
Wow.
Through a whole workout. Same move over and over. And it was like, sometimes he would talk to himself. He would be looking at his feet, like, I need to figure out here. And you could see him like he was serious about perfecting whatever it was he was doing. He wanted it to feel like part of his skin. And that was really surprising to me because I never trained that way.
Yeah.
I'm very detailed oriented in my training, but it was very methodical and very just. It was a great learning experience for me to see and understand, his thought process on his developing his own game.
So then you go and you take a new challenge with going to Cleveland, and your job was to mentor Kyrie, to work on Kyrie. So what was your mindset going into that, about to work out with a kid from Duke?
Man, I was Mike Brown kind of had to convince me. Like when he left, the Lakers unfortunately fired him, brought in Mike D'Antoni, and when the season was over, it just kind of felt like the Lakers were going in another direction.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be part of it.
Yeah.
And I was still young to the NBA, but I knew at that point I was like, okay, I want to continue this. So Mike had reached out and said, look, I'm gonna take this job in Cleveland. I want you to come. And at first I was like,
Cleveland?
Yeah, man, I'm in LA.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in LA with the Lakers, But when he told me, he said, look, Phil, you're really good at developing players. This is a young team. Development is going to be at the forefront of what we do, and I would love for you to be here. And he kind of was like, look, Kyrie is a great young talent. I don't know if you know anything about this kid, but you know, if you do come here, I'm gonna want you to mentor him and help him and groom him. And I didn't know Kyrie.
Okay.
Didn't know him either. And you know, and Mike had also said, hey, you know, there's a chance that LeBron might come back to Cleveland. So when I went to Cleveland and did my interview, you know, I saw the facility, I saw just the organization. It was just like, okay, I could do something here. And you know, they offered me a job, gave me a better position, and that just very organically happened.
Yeah.
I spent 5 years in Cleveland and fell in love with that city.
Really?
Great place, great people, great fans. And you know, that was obviously the beginning of my relationship with Kyrie. And that one is well documented.
Well, you work with Kyrie, and then you find out LeBron's coming. What was your, I mean, worked out with, like, what was?
You know what's crazy? We were, the day that he made his announcement, you know, David Blatt was hired as the head coach. We were in Las Vegas during Summer League. We were in practice, having one of our last practices for our Summer League team. And I remember Coach Blatt got interrupted. You know, somebody from the PR team was like, Coach, it's a really important phone call. You need to take it.
Yeah.
And he was in the middle of like going through the practice.
So it has to be something important.
So everything kind of stopped. He walked off to the side. And I just remember seeing his face.
Really?
He got off the phone. He had the biggest smile on his face.
Like he hit the lottery.
But it was just like, it was excitement.
Yeah.
And he kind of walked back over to the group and he said, it's official. LeBron James is coming back to Cleveland. And everybody was just like, oh, it was just, it was a crazy moment.
Yeah.
Everybody was just, you know, because you just felt like that changed the whole landscape of the team.
Absolutely.
It was a whole different feeling. And I just remember we were like, shit, we were kings of Summer League.
We won.
but it was interesting because again, you could see immediately how the organization went from being in rebuild mode to
you gotta win.
Now we're a championship contender.
Yeah.
Now it's instant. And so that was a great. I remember that day like it was yesterday. It was an interesting day.
So you being in the position you were in Cleveland, what were you thinking about, like how to? Like you were gonna work with LeBron, and I mean, like, was there like, do you just go home and like study his game, or like how do you like? What is that like to you get to about to train LeBron?
I mean, I've always been a guy that studied anybody I work with.
Yeah.
I studied Kyrie before I went to Cleveland. You know, I studied all the players. You know, not just LeBron, but I've been trying to be a student. But I definitely pulled a lot of film on him and watched his tendencies and watched things that he was really great at, watched things he wasn't really great at. And I had a plan in my mind.
What was that?
I knew some areas that I could really help him right away. But in doing that, I've always found that working with players like that, I always ask them what they want to get better at.
Okay.
It's never about me as a coach. It's more about building a real collaboration with them. And so my first conversation with him, my first conversation with Kobe, my first conversation with Kawhi, with Kyrie, was all about what do you want to get better? How do you want to improve? Because I feel like it's important for players, no matter what level. Kobe, LeBron, these dudes have been doing it for years. There's always room to improve.
Yeah.
And so for me to be able to hear from them areas that they want to make improvement, I think it just it helps the relationship to go in the right direction from the start. And, you know,
go from there.
Yeah, it shows that you're really interested in helping them continue to improve in their craft. So that's how me and Bron started. You know, the first day I came to the gym, I sat down and talked with him for about 10 minutes, and he just kind of told me what he wanted, how he liked to work, and you know, where he wanted to get better. And that was just how that relationship started to develop. Cool.
And then 2016 comes, and that year gets me excited. But so we'll just skip right into the exciting part. So you make it to the finals, and then I'm just gonna fast forward to Game 7. So, okay, so Game 7 is okay. Well, wait. Let's talk about the speech you gave because I hear about that all the time. So, how do you feel like that flipped the switch for them? Because I mean, for those who don't know, everyone says you played a key role in the history of the 3-1 comeback, but you just like, I mean, you felt like the Warriors were throwing punches and you guys weren't throwing them back.
Right.
How do you think, like, your speech, did you just as a coach be like I'm not taking this no more, so like you guys can't do that?
You know, T. Lou was really gracious. You know, after game 2 was over, I was just pissed off.
Yeah.
I was like, I hate losing anyway.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't want to lose to you and whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I could be playing cards right now. I'm not trying to lose. And they were like, literally, they were whooping our ass.
Yeah.
Making fun of us, taunting us. They were, you know, basically just embarrassing us.
Yeah.
I just felt like, man, this no way.
Yeah, like,
you know, not in the NBA Finals. And I asked T. Lou as we were walking back to the locker room, man, T, I can't stomach this, man. Like, this is no way. And he was like, hey, speak your mind. He was like, say what you gotta say.
Yeah.
And man, there were so many F-bombs.
They needed it.
And I kind of blacked out a little bit. I'm serious. Like, I remember getting in a couple players' faces and pointing, and management was in there, the owners were in there.
Oh shit.
I just went off.
Phil's going crazy.
And it was more like, for no other reason, just for pure anger.
Yeah.
I was frustrated. And you know, I know they were too.
Yeah.
But it was just like, oh, what are we doing? Like, we're in the NBA Finals and we're just letting these dudes punk us.
Yeah.
And they're visibly punking us.
Yeah.
And so what are we gonna do about it? And it was really more just trying to connect with them in their basketball spirit and their, man, you work and you scrap and you claw to get to the NBA Finals. And this is what we're
To
gonna
go out
do?
like this, yeah.
No way. Like, put on your big boy pants.
Let's get out there.
Man up.
Yeah.
And let's play, you know, let's play like we know how to play.
Yeah.
And represent the city of Cleveland. You know, Cleveland is like a hard-nosed city. Blue collar. And so that, I think, you know, more than anything, they just accepted the challenge within themselves to say, look, man, we're better than that.
Yeah.
You know, let's at least go down fighting.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. You know, people say that all the time, and you play. Look, I don't know how much of an impact that had.
You got the ball rolling.
There you
Say
go.
that.
Say that.
Say that.
And it was it was just amazing to be part of that whole run.
Oh, I bet. So Game 7, like a minute left. You guys called the timeout. Was the play? It was drawn up for Kyrie. It was meant to go Kyrie. Okay. So that's how it was. Okay, so then he gets the switch, and then when the ball leaves his hands, do you know it's like, I know you're at the other end, but do you know it's good?
You know, I didn't question it because that was a shot that we had worked on.
Yeah.
Plenty of times. That spot on the floor was a spot that, you know, me and Kyrie spent a lot of time on. He had a great feel for that spot on the floor.
Yeah.
And so I kind of remember, like, I was like, no. At first, I was like, no, don't settle. Like, don't. You got Steph on you. And again, not to say anything about Steph. You know, Steph's a great competitor.
Yeah.
But I felt like he had an advantage, and I wanted him to attack him. But again, when the shot left his hand, I remember saying, like, oh, that's good. And no, just even from where I was sitting.
Yeah.
And I remember when that shot, because at that point in the game, we had not scored. Neither team had scored.
Yeah, it was a drought. Yeah.
And so when he scored that bucket, it seemed like we went up 10. And I was jumping up and down on my seat like, oh.
But then it's like, okay, you know, there was like 50-something seconds left after that. And you're like, you got the Splash Brothers. You can't be excited, but you felt good.
At that point in the game, no one had scored.
Yeah.
It was like just nobody. So I was just like, okay, cool.
We scored.
Yeah. And I think we were up 2 at that point. I think that shot put us up 2. And it was just like, I'd rather be up 2 than down 2.
Yeah.
And I just remember like they came to the huddle after that. Everybody was just like, just stop. You know, just it was a lot of. It was noisy, but it was calm.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting here trying to rewind and play that whole time out. I wasn't calm. I was.
Good thing I wasn't.
I couldn't stop moving.
I wouldn't either. That was crazy.
I mean, I wasn't like nervous.
No, yeah, just excited.
I was nervous, but I was just like, let's get this stopped.
Yeah.
Like,
I need 0 on the clock.
For real. And, that's what I was thinking about. Like, man, get this clock to 0.
Please.
And it just, but that shot was huge. That was
iconic. Yeah. Yeah.
I think wasn't that the last bucket?
LeBron made a free throw.
Free throw.
Yeah.
But it just, I think LeBron when he missed that dunk.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That probably would have went down as the greatest dunk in the history of the game. If he would have made that dunk.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a big shot, and Kyrie just kind of he evolved into that player.
Yeah. And then the picture I really like, I mean, you posted on Instagram before, was you hugging Kyrie. And I mean, they'll say like a picture speaks 1,000 words, but in that moment, it just looked like it was like all that work you guys put in, like it paid off. Like, what were your emotions? I know it's probably hard to just put in words, but what were your emotions in that moment?
You just said, it was pure joy.
Yeah.
I really didn't. I wasn't expecting to tackle him like that. It just happened.
Just happened.
It really just happened, and I just remember feeling like, man, like you said, me and Kai we had some hard days. We had some good days. That boy had some hard days. We had some tough days behind closed doors.
Really?
And to be able to come through all of that and to have that moment, I blew that picture up. Somebody sent it to me, I have it in my house. I blew it up. That thing is huge.
As it should be.
It's a huge picture that is definitely one of the greatest moments of my career.